Okay, so our embers are going to be very similar to what we have with our debris. So there's also an option to like do a particle simulation and advect these particles by the volume from the explosion. I didn't end up doing that because our pyrosim is quite heavy, and I didn't really get that much extra out of it. So I'm just going to, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to just copy and paste our debris setup here. And then I'm going to call this embers. Let's go in there. And what we're just going to do is we're really just going to crank up the emission. Let's say 250,000. I'm going to remove my rocks from the collisions, because I mean it's not going to add that much anyway. I am going to just say the life here could be higher. Let's have a look. So what I don't want is I don't really want all this gravity that we have here. So let's just have a look at how I set it up in my original thing. So a couple of things we can remove. We can remove the pop interact. We don't really need those to interact. So just going to be little particles. Let's, on our pop source, let's go into use inherited and also add to inherited. So it's a little bit more random maybe. Something like that. Let's really decrease this gravity. And let me just have a look if for some settings that I had in my original. Oh, I had this one, I actually had the time scale lower. Okay, I'm gonna turn off the guides for this thing. Don't really want any guides. Oh, so now we get some sort of embers. Maybe I do want the gravity a little bit more again. I'm gonna remove the pop spin, so you don't really need that. And maybe what I want to do is I maybe want to increase some, add some noise, more noise to this whole thing. So that our points will sort of wiggle around a little bit. Okay, maybe gravity is too much now. So this looks kind of cool. What I am going to do is I'm going to, in here, go to the live, reduce it and make it more random. So maybe 4 and 1. So now some will die off, some won't. So you can see now, probably need them to stay around a little bit longer. So let's say 8 and 3. That looks kind of okay. Let's cache this out. Just say embers. Again, I guess we could keep that one. Let's just cache this out. Like I said, I mean, these embers are super simple. You could make it more interesting by just really playing around with these noises. Like my original setup, I had a couple more extra stuff, but in general, oh, but one thing that we might want to do, by the way, is maybe, okay, maybe what I want to do is, again, maybe I do want the gravity to be higher, time scale to be 1, but let's add more drag. Maybe that will And then I'm gonna increase the inherit velocity to 2. So then they're gonna blow out more. Then they're gonna slow down on the way down. Maybe we want even more drag. Drag force will sort of give a counter force to the particles. So then essentially they will sort of move down. Maybe what we want to do is start off with very low drag and then key that upwards a little bit. Let's just go with air resistance like this and then key it up to be like 0.25 over here. Let's just have a look what this looks like. And then I guess we could say more amplitude. So then they would sort of move a bit more. And then let's do the roughness down. Scroll size like that. All right, let's just cache this out. Okay. Now let's add some color to this to sort of visualize this. So let's make a wrangle. Okay, so we have a couple of things here. We have age and we have live. So let's just show those. So we're gonna have age, we're gonna have live. Okay, so we want to give every point a value from 0 to 1 from the moment they're born to the moment they die. So how can we do that? Well, for example, we could say f at len, or whatever you want to call it. You could also say cheese. But f at len equals, and say fit. What do we want to fit? We want to fit the age from 0. So this is and then the input is going to be 0, because that's when they get born. They're 0. Then up until life, which is, if it goes above their life, of course, well, then they die. And we're going to fit it 0, 1. Okay, so now you can see we have something that would go from 0 to 1. So when they die, so at the time it's 1, they will die. Let's add a color. Do rem from attribute len 0 to 1. Let's add some colors to it. So let's make it like, let's do like red, orange, black. Okay, so I'm going to say that my life is probably too high because they stay around too long. You can see they slowly turn black over time, and they're probably red for too long. So I'm going to say Earth, let's make it 4. We do have some randomness, so some will stay around a little longer, some will stay around a little shorter. In general, should be a little bit better. So let's just have a look what this looks like when this finishes caching. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna take out the red. Let's just say that it's super bright yellow when it's almost white. So by the time they get completely black, so it's essentially like the embers, they're super bright, like little particles, and then they cool off. And then when they're completely black, they disappear. Maybe we don't want them to, maybe we do want to give them some color still. Let's just keep it like this. Okay, so let's put the output embers. Let's make a geometry and call it RNDR embers. Object merge it into this object. And yeah, now we have our entire setup. So we have, so we can, let's do a flipbook maybe. Let's do our camera. Let's turn on our pyro as well. Let's go into this thing and maybe do some visualization on it. So we actually, something better to look at. So density, emission, temperature, heat, black body. All right. So let's flipbook this. I think it's a little bit slow now, but right, something like that. Let's press flipbook. Ignore the big sphere thing here. We're gonna render all of these elements separately. So we can just kill out the volume on the first frame for this thing. But you can see we got this sort of shockwave here. We are gonna make one more object later. Well, a couple of them are also gonna need to make the beam, but we're gonna do that just in our rendering scene because it's mostly to do with lights. And we're gonna have a sphere that's gonna make a shockwave. We're also gonna do that separately, but cool, right? We get shockwave across the ground. We have these embers, we have the pyro, we have the rigid body. So we have everything we need to start making some materials, add some lights, and and then render our shot, and then of course do the compositing in the end, because this shot is quite compositing heavy, mainly because we need to render a lot of elements separately. So we need to get to render the ground separately, the embers, all of that stuff, and then we add it all in compositing. Generally, I like to render as much in camera as I can, but in this case, it just doesn't make a lot of sense because it was just a lot heavier to do that. And because we have so many elements, we kind of want to be able to tweak out those individual elements in compositing. So yeah, let's move along and let's do some lighting and shading.